Well, hey, Dave Melinda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you this week. I have a question like we do every week, but this question I have to say I've never ever thought of. And it was such an intriguing question that I'm like, I got to find out who asked this question. And we got to unpack this topic because it's kind of a unique thing. I'm super excited about it. And the question is there science around bravery? And I'm like, well, bravery's just kind of like there, right? You just muster it up. And I'm like, man, there must be something deeper to this. So I'm like, I got to figure out who asked that question. So I'm honored to be hanging out with Jill Schulman. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me. Yeah, bravery's my world and the science behind it. Ah,
Absolutely. Well, I want to start out by saying thank you for your service as a Marine. Thank you again for everything that you do for our country. And I know there's probably a lot you can't say, so we won't ask if you can't divulge it. I totally get it. But I wanted to, unpack this piece about bravery
yeah,
because, like I said, novice Dave here thinks bravery is just something that is kind of like in my back pocket when I need
yeah.
it,
Mhm.
and then sometimes you call upon it, sometimes you don't. Maybe people have different words for it. So, tell me about where it started for you. Was it back in the Marines? Was it as a kid?
Yeah.
Where did that kind of start for you?
Yeah. Well, let me define it and then let me tell you my story. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for
I want to
sure.
do the two together. So, first of all,
Yeah.
I think there's so many misperceptions around bravery. Like what you just said is so common. People think bravery, it is something people have or they don't. Like,
Yep.
I'm just not brave, that he's
Yeah.
brave or she's brave. We think of bravery, like if you close your eyes and think of bravery, most people think of maybe a Marine running into battle, or
Right.
maybe a firefighter running into a burning building. We think of like, these heroic movements, and those are moments of extreme bravery. We need to honor those. But bravery is so much more than that. Bravery is something for all of us because bravery is defined, and this is the academic scientific definition, which is bravery is
Sure.
voluntary action in the presence of fear toward a noble, worthwhile goal. So if a Marine
Gotcha.
is running into battle, they've got a goal to defend the country, the noble goal, or to attack the hill, to overcome the enemy, and they are going to take voluntary action, even though it's scary, in order to accomplish that, right?
Right.
But in
Yep.
our lives, I mean, we all experience fear.
Sure.
And, back in caveman days, it used to be like physical fear, right?
Yep.
But in
Yep.
today's world, it's more social fear. Like, will I
Sure.
fail? Will I look silly? Will I be rejected?
Yep.
Will people listen to me? But the fear, like our brains don't know the difference. So our bodies respond kind of the same way as if we
Sure.
saw like a tiger, or if all of a sudden we had to stand up and talk, right? Um,
Yep.
so bravery is for all of us. So bravery isn't what you think it is. It is not heroic moments. It's a skill, not a trait, a skill that anyone can build. And it's something that is buildable. It is practicable. It's a skill that can be learned. So I always use an analogy. It's like a muscle. Like the more that you build your bravery, the stronger it gets. And then it has a profound impact on people's happiness and well-being. So that's a little bit about just answering
Yeah.
the question about like, and is there a scientific study? Oh, yes, we're going to get into it because
Good.
I am an academic geek. I will tell you my story. Yes, I'm tough girl, Marine Corps Jill, but I'm also academic geek. And so I love the science around how we can build bravery. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
That's cool.
a little bit about my story. So, yeah, I grew up not far from you in a neighboring state. You're in Wisconsin. I grew up in Minnesota, or maybe I
Yep.
should say it this way, Minnesota. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So grew up in Minnesota, and I decided to start, I guess, my career by doing the military route for a couple of reasons. I had an opportunity to get my college paid for, so I was going to either go the academy route, and then I found out you can get a full ride, like a
Sure.
full scholarship on ROTC. So I applied for a Naval ROTC scholarship, Marine Corps option, which is basically ROTC for to go into the Marine Corps. And I
Okay.
was lucky enough to get that full scholarship. So I went to San Diego, which is where I studied, the University of San Diego. And went to school for 4 years. And at the end of the 4 years, I was commissioned and served as a United States Marine. Now, I'd say the one thing I want to add to the story that I think really
Yeah.
relates to why I researched bravery here is
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, when I showed up in San Diego, I was really confident getting on the plane and even getting off the plane. But once I was standing in front of these Marines reporting in, because it was it was Marine Corps orientation before college, which is
Sure.
basically a little mini boot camp.
Yeah.
And I was in for a shock. I was in for a shock because I was thinking, I'm like, I have the academics, I have the, I had to have the physical, and I had to have
Yep.
the leadership to get the scholarship. So I'm like,
Sure.
I got this. And
Yeah.
then I show up in San Diego, and the one probably misjudgment I made is I put a lot of thought into my outfit, but I'm an 18-year-old girl, right? I didn't want to wear jeans because Marine officer can't wear jeans. It's not allowed. I didn't want to wear a
Sure.
dress to be too girly. So I showed up in what I thought was a very professional looking outfit that wasn't jeans and wasn't too dressy. And it was these shorts that went down to my knees because this was in the 90s that were
Yeah.
very stylish, but they were hot pink with white polka dots
Uh-oh.
with matching heels.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Are you imagining like a stunt double to L, like
Oh my.
on Legally Blonde? Yeah. So that was my
Wow.
first day, and someone came up to me, and the leading Marine came up to me, and when I'm in formation for the first time, studying at attention, he leaned over and whispered or kind of sneered at me, "You'll never make it as a Marine." And part of me wondered, is he right? But a big part of me said, I want to prove you wrong.
Sure.
And then the second day, it got worse because then we went out for our first run and I thought I was in shape. But what is the topography of the Midwest? It's flat, it's farmland,
Yep.
right? It's flat. So my running to train in the flat
Yep.
Minnesota did not prepare me for the hills of Southern California. So
Sure.
day two was
Yep.
worse. I couldn't keep up in the runs, which is the most shameful thing of United States Marines when you're not physically tough. So that was the beginning of my Marine Corps journey.
Sure.
So I had to make a decision, and this ties into bravery. This isn't me running into battle as a Marine, and by the way, I served in peacetime from 96 to 2001. So
Sure.
I trained to attack the enemy many times. But
Yep.
back when I was
Yep.
in college, I had to decide each day, do I show up where I know it's going to be hard? I
Yeah.
know I'm going to struggle. It's not going to be easy, which is taking the brave step forward. Or I didn't need to stay there. I could have gone back home to Minnesota where it was safe and comfortable.
Sure.
So, so if you take that, like I kept showing up. And if we fast forward ahead 3 years, it took me probably a good 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, for me to build up my bravery and confidence. Like it took that long.
Okay.
Um, but at the end of that process, I ended up being extraordinarily confident, strong physically. I was actually the top finisher from my school, from officer candidate school, you
Wow.
know, but it was something that it took time to build. It wasn't like I was going to
Sure.
like just show up and then just be brave on day one.
Sure.
So you take that experience. I got out of the Marine Corps after 5 years, went to corporate America. Um, Actually, the second company I ever interviewed with after I got out of the Marine Corps, he was a Marine Corps officer, so I went with that company. So it was in the pharmaceutical industry. I fell in love with pharma. Like I loved the science. I loved having intellectual debate with doctors.
Sure.
I was promoted pretty quickly. I did well. I moved up, and I ended up the last job I had in corporate America was doing leadership development
Okay.
because they had all these amazing classes for us as leaders in this company. And I soaked it up. I realized I didn't know everything on how to lead just because I led in the Marine Corps. There's so many things I needed to learn, like emotional intelligence and
Sure.
situational leadership. And I benefited so greatly from that. I became my passion to do leadership development. So I did that in corporate America. And then I launched my own company 11 years ago, doing the same thing, but serving many companies. So
Wow.
that's the leadership development start. And then like
Sure.
just for full circle to bravery here,
Yeah.
after having my company for 7 or 8 years, I'm always focusing on my clients, them learning and growing, and they're the leaders, and then their people are learning and growing because they're helping them do that. But like I'm
Sure.
always trying to learn and grow. So I decided to go back to school
Okay.
I think I was 48, and I studied positive psychology, which is why I love your podcast name. Studied positive psychology, and then I ended up doing my capstone, which is like your master's thesis in what is one of the things that prevents people from living their best life, being the happiest, being the most fulfilled, looking back at their life, saying, I lived a life well lived with no
Sure.
regrets. And the answer to that, when I did the research, was fear. Fear, I learned, controls people in so many ways. And it's not just the physical ways we're talking about, in invisible ways people don't even know. When people really want something, but they stay small and they don't take action because of fear. And that
Sure.
is what lands me today to now,
Wow.
like studying scientifically what helps people overcome fear.
That's pretty cool. I mean, there's such a connection between fear and bravery because they feel like they're kind of the opposite of each other, where you can either operate out of fear or you can operate out of bravery. And I think about your story, and I want to ask because there's a lot of people that are thinking the same thing is, you were in corporate America and then you started your own
Ah,
business,
mhm,
right? Now, we always preempt this by saying there's no right or wrong way. So Jill's way might be different than your way.
mhm.
But did you jump in? Did you have a side hustle for a while? How
Yeah.
did that transition go from corporate into
Yeah.
owning
I
your
know I
own
made
business?
it sound like just really easy, right? Like, oh, I
Yeah, it
just
did. That's why I was like, well, maybe it was that easy,
so
which is
yeah,
great.
let's get into it. Like, I love sharing like the struggle. So I was with a large company and I was doing leadership development, which I
Okay.
found my calling. Like I was so in flow. I was my the purpose, I was aligned with what I think I was meant to do. But this job was a big promotion that was based in Chicago.
Okay.
My family lived in Southern California. My husband had a franchise of furniture stores, Ashley Furniture Stores. So we couldn't just move because he had brick and mortar stores. So
Sure,
they
sure.
allowed me to commute in,
Okay.
which sounds fantastic. Like it was wonderful. They gave me the flexibility. But the travel and being away every week, being a mom, right, of two kids, I thought it was
Yeah.
fine. No big deal. And then one time it was a Friday and I caught an earlier flight. So I got home a little early, was able to pick up my baby girl who was getting out of kindergarten, out of school. So I was surprising her. She comes out and she's like, "Mommy," she's all excited and she hugs me and gets settled. And she had a picture in her hand, a picture that she drew. And the picture was of the family. And I wasn't in the picture.
Oh,
Yeah. So you have those moments and it was like, oh, ow. But you know what? I think everything that happens, it's not to you, it happens for you for a reason. So that was a sign. That was
yeah.
a moment where I'm like, something needs to change.
Yeah.
Um, I was recruited by a different company to go back into leading sales in my home area, Southern California and Hawaii.
Sure.
So I actually left the job that I felt so aligned with to work for a device company leading sales back home. But I moved from pharma to device, and even though I was home, I was working so many hours. I was home not any more than when I was traveling because I was out early every day to
No,
be in ORs.
sure.
So it didn't really solve it. So then I wasn't doing the work I felt aligned with. And then I had this job. And then my older daughter got sick and she was in the hospital. And I had one of these moments. I'm like, what am I doing? So
Yeah.
here's the transition was after that happened to my older daughter, she's fine now. She was epileptic and had some seizures. So I just decided that I was going to be a stay-at-home mom. So he's laughing because he already knows what's going to happen here. So how do you think that went, Dave? You've known me
I
for
don't
what,
know. How long did
20
that
minutes?
last? I was going to say a week, a month. I mean,
Pretty
it can't be
much.
much more than a month.
So I think I enjoyed it for a month.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my gosh. And again, what's right for one person is not right for others. I have a lot of friends that have decided to like leave their high-powered jobs, one that was a lawyer and decide, and it was the most fulfilling thing for them to stay home. I was just not
Sure.
wired that way. So I'd say that's the one probably job position that I probably failed. I wasn't thriving there. And then I wasn't a better mom from being home. I
Sure.
was great,
Fair.
So that is what led me to start my company because I was like, oh God, I miss the leadership development. Like that is what my just made my soul sing. And so that is when I started my company. And I had such a gift. My old company, this was Abbott Labs at the time, pharma company.
Oh yeah.
They had just had a big reorg where they're splitting the company into Abbott and AbbVie. So the AbbVie was the pharma side. And anyway, like they were developing it, they were having a new way of doing leadership development across the entire company.
Hmm.
And I knew the people over there and we kept in
Fair.
touch. And I got
Yeah.
a phone call and just said, "Hey, how you doing? How's your daughters? They're fine." Like, and we're looking for facilitators to come in and teach the leadership classes.
Uh-oh.
Are you interested?
Ooh, there you
So
go.
here's me going like, I'm dying, like I want to work, and I get a call. So that call is what made me say, I am going to start a business. Like I'm gonna Breakthrough Leadership Group, LLC. And I started just flying in once a month for 2 to 3 days. And then a year
Yeah.
later, I was like busy full time. So that's my
Wow.
journey to start my own company. But
Great.
I think the things we can pull out of it is like I needed to do what was right for my family.
Yeah.
Like we can't put everything into our career and then fail our family because then we're not successful in life. So that's one thing I learned.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I learned to make sure that you do something that makes your soul sing or leverage your strengths or work in the areas which you have passion or your values align. Because when
Yeah.
I left doing leadership development to go to that device company, I was making more than double. So you'd think I'd be happy, but it just doesn't matter, right? So those are kind of my two lessons, to make sure you're being very successful in business and with your family, and then just
Well,
do what you love.
yeah, I think that, I mean, when you think about values and passion and being fulfilled, those are some words sometimes that people just fly by in
Mhm.
exchange for a big paycheck, in exchange for some notoriety, whatever it is. And I think that most of us realize as we get towards the end of our life where the regrets show up. And I
Mhm.
love that there was something on your website that you said choose brave, live fulfilled, choose comfort, feel regret. And it was
Mhm.
like, man, this regret thing,
Mhm.
is just crazy because we kind of control the outcome somewhat because it's us that's doing this. A lot of times we want to blame the government, we want to blame the competitor, we want to blame the boss, whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel like we have a lot more control over
Mhm.
our own individual destiny than I think, people want to give us credit for. But I mean, there's just so much there. Thanks for sharing all of that because for people listening, again, maybe you're in that spot where you want to jump in and start your own business. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
We've had people on that. I had one guy on, Jill, that he got married and 6 days later he quit his job, didn't even tell his wife, just came home, said, "Honey, I quit my job. I'm starting a new company." And she freaked because she wasn't wired that way. So again, you have to be very open to the people around you and make sure
Mhm.
that this is right for them as well. But
Yeah.
I love that you just jumped in. You already had the passion. You already knew what you were doing. Now, leadership development can mean a ton of things
Yeah.
because, a lot of people listening are leaders right now. And I'm guessing that the vast majority of them have not had some professional
Mm.
leadership development. They might have read a book or they might have did a
Mhm.
class online or whatever. But, you know, what do you see as like some of the top key things in your leadership development? What are leaders missing that you're really doing a great job of helping them, reconnect
Yeah.
in those things?
Oh my gosh, I could talk about so many different things, but I'd say the top things um, that I tend to first start off with my clients is
Yeah,
um, first of all, helping them understand that the job of a leader is so different than the job of an individual contributor. So if someone is the best at a job, they're usually the ones that are promoted to a leadership position. And a lot of times as companies, we don't teach them how to do the new job, which is
yeah,
leading, motivating, and helping set up their team for success. Completely different
Right.
job. And so
Yep.
sometimes, like, so many times we don't set them up for success, and we wonder why so many people are like unhappy at work because their leaders don't know how to lead. They're doing it wrong. And
Right.
if we just teach them how. So there's, so some of the foundational things that I always do with my clients is we start off by saying like, what is the job of the leader and what is the mindset? So I always talk about the concept of servant leadership,
Sure.
which is it's such a simple one, but I'm like, if we can't agree on mindset here, then we can't
Yeah.
even go to the next step, which it's your
Sure.
job to best serve the people you lead so that they can succeed and win and accomplish their goals here at work. Because if they are
Right.
successful, then you're successful. But I think so many leaders are like, I am the big boss.
Yeah.
You are a bunch of
Absolutely.
peons. You're here to serve
Yep.
me. I'm like, if that is your mindset, no wonder people are miserable. So we talk about your job is to serve your people. Now, there's things that have to flow down. Like it has to be like, what is our vision? What is our mission? What is our strategic imperatives? And then what are the specific goals? That needs to roll down. But once the
Sure. Yep.
strategy is in place and the goals are in place, then we flip into servant. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. And then I'd say the other major thing that I think leaders need the most help with is sometimes they feel conflicted between like, do I hold people to high standards and be a jerk? Or
Right.
do I be cool and easy and then we don't really meet
Yep.
the expectations? And they feel like they're torn in the two directions.
Sure.
And it is not, it's a fallacy that you have to choose being a jerk or being nice.
Sure.
What we teach is that if you really care about your people and your business, which everyone does, then we need to set high standards that are clear and then care enough about our people to say, I believe in you. I'm going to help you hit the standard. And it
Yeah.
can be something that is builds the most trust. So if you love your people, then tell them, I believe in you and I'm not going to give up and I'm going to help you meet the standard. And
Yeah.
so I think that's another like one of the first struggles we try to help people of how to
Sure.
set challenging goals, how to deliver constructive feedback so that it comes across as I'm helping you versus criticizing you.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow. I tell you, servant leadership seems like an oxymoron in some ways because let's face it, a lot of us jumped into owning our own business so that we could call our own shots. We could be the boss. I mean, there were, I remember early in the early 90s and when I started my first company, man, I just wanted to tell people what to do.
I
And it
know.
was like 30 years later, whatever it is, how many 30 some years later, I'm like, that was really the exact opposite of what I needed to be doing. I love the supporting, I love the servant leadership the thought process
Mhm.
because you're kind of inverting your
You
org
are.
chart, right? Where your leader is at the bottom supporting all these people, and when they're doing their job, boy, they crush it. And it's sad to see, Gallup says 1 out of 3 people show up engaged in their job right now. So that's
Yeah.
a real challenge. That means 2 out of 3 people that you employed right now, if you're listening, is that they're not engaged in their job. And I feel like it's
And
our
it's
responsibility
yeah,
as
so
leaders.
say it's our responsibility. Yes, keep going.
Yeah,
Hmm.
no, I just feel like it's our responsibility to we have such a huge say in that. And these leaders that kind of take this laissez-faire, hands-off thought process of, hey, it is what it is. We don't really have a culture here. We don't have it just show
Hmm.
up and do your job and go home. It's like, man, these are such blind spots for people,
Ah,
in leadership. And I'm just curious if you kind of see the
mhm.
same blind spots.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's hard to sometimes let go because a lot of times the person that's promoted to leader is the one that was the best at the job. So it's hard to let
Right.
go. And if
Yep.
you have your own company and you're an entrepreneur, like my company's grown and I have other people delivering my workshops, it is hard to let go. So I understand that because we care so
Yep.
much and we think we're the best. But oh my gosh, for any entrepreneur out there, usually you are working around the clock and you work too much and you're stressed. And part of it is because we're not willing to let go.
Right. Yep.
And really the key to this, if we look at it, I'm always looking at things scientifically because I'm a little bit of an academic geek, is there's times where you should be hands-on. Someone's new, when someone's learning, when someone's going through the learning curve, you want to be there to support and praise and say you're learning and here's a little adjustment. But as soon as they develop the competence to do the job, and that's your job to make sure they know how to do their job to be competent, and they understand your mission, your vision, your intent. Like I always talk about commander's intent because of the military. If they
Sure.
understand the intent of what the business is trying to do for its customers and they have competence in what it is, that's when you should feel comfortable, like hands off and saying, I trust you. You know how to do this. You know what we're trying to do here. If you need to make a decision in the moment, do what's best for the company and based on your knowledge, and I will support you. And when you do that, when you tell someone like, you've got this, you
Yeah.
bring great value, I trust you, their engagement goes up. They're like, what? You think that I'm
Right.
smart and
Yep.
important and I can make decisions? Like that's what increases that engagement is when you give
Yep.
them ownership. And, ultimately, people want to feel like they matter at work. And if you look at the definition of mattering, it's like if you allow people to bring a lot of value to work and then you
Right.
make them feel appreciated or you value them for what they do, like that's the secret to engagement. Allow them to bring the most value and give them more responsibility and then appreciate them for that. And they're going to do things a little differently than you. But as long as it's meeting the high standard, then allow them that autonomy.
Yeah.
And that'll make you happier. It'll make the
Yep.
customers happier because your employees can actually make decisions in the moment instead of saying, wait, I have to call my boss to see what I
Right.
can do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I want to just talk about one thing real quick that you mentioned. We'll take a break. But like when you were talking about, growing people that are good at something, so then they automatically become like the manager, the leader, whatever. And I think that nothing worse that I've seen, because we spent a lot of time on the sales side, is like a great sales professional that gets promoted to sales manager and absolutely hates it, sucks at it because they love to sell. They don't care about other people. There's a certain
Hmm.
personality. We do a ton of work with this. There's a certain
Oh, I
personality
do
that's
this
built
too.
for leaders, just like EQ. I mean, all these things, and you're either built for it or you're not. I mean, I believe you can transform in, but there's just a raw, natural ability there that some people have and others don't. And I'm just curious if you see that, because I see a lot of good salespeople, professionals get promoted to sales manager, and it just never works the way they had thought.
And,
And I'm just curious
and,
what your thoughts
and
are on that.
and I think that we have to do a better job. I think sometimes like salespeople, the best salespeople are competitive. I was in sales in pharma. I was in sales leadership, so I get this, right?
Yeah.
So salespeople just think like, okay, the next thing I need to win is there's a promotion and I want to win
Yep.
the promotion. And they're not thinking about what is the job. So I think
Yep.
we just really need to almost talk people out of it. Like you're not going to be the top salesperson. Your job is to nurture, help grow and develop so that your people can become superstars. You no longer are the superstar. Your job is to make them the superstar.
Yep.
And the spotlight is off of you. Is this what you want? Right? Just to make
Yep.
sure that they know what it is. And then if you go into the job, it's a completely different job. You will
Yep.
not know what you're doing. So we're going to teach you the skills on how to do it. So I need you to be
Yeah.
open-minded on how to be a great sales leader, which is different than being a salesperson. So
Right.
as long as they still want to do it, then
Yeah.
then we, if we promoted this person to sales leader, we need to be clear in our expectations of them on what their role is and teach them how to do it. And as long as they're open to learning and growing, I think it's possible. But yeah, some people just don't want
Right.
to be a sales leader. They just are happier
Yeah.
in sales. So that's okay. That's wonderful. We need amazing people who have been in sales a long time. That's great for the business.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think that word competition is like, you can like on assessment, on a disc assessment, I'm 100% on my competitive. There's no game that I'll play that I'm there just to play. I'm there to win. If you leave, I might move my piece a little bit. I mean,
Ooh.
I know it's like I don't care. I'm not there just to hang out. I'm there to win this game. and having that win this game as a sales professional is awesome. It does transform if you turn into leadership, because now you may have 10, 20, 100, who knows how many people reporting to you, and you have to, your definition of, competition really changes. So
Yeah, it
I
does.
love that you brought that up, and I'm just sharing it now before we take the break, it just so that people can understand that just because you're a good X doesn't mean you're a good leader. And I love that
Mhm.
you brought that up. So
Well,
we're
remember
going to
the
take,
story? Can I just say
go ahead.
one?
Yeah,
I want
absolutely,
to
for
put a
sure.
bow on this. I
Yeah,
told you that the reason I ended up getting into leadership development is because I learned so much. So let me
yeah,
just tell you, like, I was a top salesperson in my company. I literally got the award for the most sales, like when I was just out of the Marine Corps, right? So they
yeah,
promoted me quickly to leader.
yeah,
I was a horrible leader out of the gates
yeah.
because I wanted to create 10 mini Jills. I basically was trying to give people orders like this is how bad it got. Like so I told my team that what I did to be successful, and at the time I was selling antibiotics, is I would work on weekends and I
Yeah.
would go to urgent cares and
Oh,
emergency rooms where sick people go
sure.
on weekends, and I would
Yeah.
call on the physicians, and that's what everyone needs to do. So I was trying to tell people they had to work on weekends, and then I was giving them all the feedback on things they weren't doing good enough. And then when I would go into the calls and I would just take over if I'm supervising them. So I just want everyone to know I ended up becoming a top leader, a very good leader, but only because my company had us go through courses and then I went through the
Yep.
classes and I'm like, oh, I had so many oh crap moments, like, oh
Mm,
crap, like I'm
right.
doing it wrong. And then I was open enough to learn the new skills, go back to the team and say, team, I learned that I should do this differently. And I benefited so much for it, which is kind of why I wanted to get into leadership development because I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to find the Jills, the Jills getting promoted, and we need to
Sure.
pull back the reins on them because they're going to drive everyone crazy.
Absolutely. Well, and I think investing in people is so important. It's so easy to invest in equipment, machinery, technology. It's so easy to invest in all that. But then when somebody says, "Hey, I'd like to, get involved in a leadership development course. I'd like to get my skills honed in that," the brakes tend to go on that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's
it,
worth
uh,
it.
it
It's worth
it's
it.
great.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Hey, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to unpack more of this bravery word. So I just want to get you to think about what it looks like in actual corporate America in the business world today. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. Honored to be hanging out with Jill Schulman, principal at Breakthrough Leadership Group LLC in California. Thanks for leaving the Midwest and ending up in California. So we're still here holding the fort down for you when you want to come back. So
Right. I'll
you're
come
all
back to see you, my friend, in the
you're
summer.
always
I'm
welcome.
not going to come in the winter with the snow there.
Oh, you don't like January and February in Wisconsin and
No,
Minnesota.
not so
I
much.
get
No.
it. I get it. So I want to kind of, turn the corner a little bit, because I really want to talk about what this fear and bravery look like in corporate America. And I
Mm,
just got done doing a presentation to some HR executives about jumping outside your comfort zone.
hmm.
And, if you, for anyone listening that wants to Google this, if you Google comfort zone, you'll get this circle thing. If you do an image, and you'll see your where you're at for your comfort zone, and then there's a fear zone, and then a learning zone, and a growth zone.
Hmm.
And so a lot of times we get stuck in our comfort zone, and that fear, like you talked about, really keeps us there. And I love what you wrote about how growth really only happens outside of the comfort zone.
Exactly.
So for people that are listening, I mean, I was talking to these HR people, and we were simply talking about maybe having a difficult conversation with somebody at work that we've been avoiding. Maybe we need to talk to our leader about something that we're afraid to talk about.
Hmm.
Sometimes we think of bravery as these monster, like you were talking about before, Jill, about, taking a hill, these big, massive, life-changing occurrences, when we
Mhm.
can really start small. And I think it's usually a lot easier to start small, especially in the bravery world. So if I'm listening right now and I'm struggling, I can't have a difficult conversation that I need to have with somebody on my team. We'll just use that as an example.
Yeah.
How would
Mm.
you instill bravery into that discussion? How would you encourage that person listening that might be struggling with that?
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I'm so glad you gave real examples in companies because fear does hold us back from performing at our best, having the biggest impact, and having the best like job satisfaction when we
Yeah,
allow fear to control us. So that's such a common fear is the fear of having the difficult conversation or delivering the feedback. So in my research, and this is in my book, The Bravery Effect, I really go into basically three steps. And it draws from step number one is we talk about what I call a brave mindset or a warrior mindset. I call it warrior mindset because you know, I think some people, when I start talking about the right mindset, I get eye rolls already. So when I call it a warrior mindset, like even the people who are really tough, they're going to be like, "Oh, I want some of that." But we do
right?
need to talk, we need to talk about our mindset first. So cognitive psychology strategies there, and then we talk about behavioral psychology strategies, what I call brave action, and then finally we talk about some evidence from social psychology to help you do that. So let's talk about all three. So if you are having a challenge just having the difficult conversation, first of all, we need to go
Yeah,
to mindset and say, all right, so like, how are you feeling about that? And the person says, like, I just can't bring this up to my boss.
right.
I just can't deliver the feedback, right? I'd say the first thing I would say is add the word yet.
Okay.
I can't have that conversation yet, or I'm not comfortable having the conversation yet. So, one of the strategies that we use is this comes from Carol Dweck growth mindset is just sometimes if we just say yet, it just gives a hint to the person that I can do it.
Mm,
I it's possible, it may not be easy, but I can do it. So that's a
sure.
simple strategy that goes from fixed mindset to growth mindset. The other thing that we talk about is that we really just talk about how when doing the hard thing, when encountering the stress and the discomfort to do the hard thing, we do some cognitive reframing of that, of saying like, okay, is getting uncomfortable and have that conversation, is that a bad thing? Or
Hmm.
is that a good thing? Let's explore it. And then
Sure.
this research comes from Dr. Cynthia Puri from Clemson. She has this technique. She goes, when we're thinking of the fear right in front of us, which is being uncomfortable in the conversation, that can kind of keep us in the tracks because it's the thing you want to avoid. Think about the worst thing that would happen if you don't have the conversation.
Mm,
So,
yep.
what would happen? You have a problem with your boss. Things are really not great. You want to have the difficult conversation. If the conversation never happens, what would be the impact of that?
Sure. Wow.
And that makes people go like, oh, well, I don't want that. So then you think about like, so if you just have the conversation, which I know is uncomfortable, right? It might lead to a better outcome. And then my
Sure.
last little hint, I've got all these psychology tips, and we could be on for 5 hours here, but sometimes I just ask people like, what do you want your future self? What if you ask your future self what you should do right now in this moment or today, what would your future self tell you to do? And your future self's going to say, have the damn conversation. You need to
Yeah.
have the conversation. So, those are some techniques to try to get us in the mindset, like doing hard things, doing
Sure.
uncomfortable things. That's what's needed to get to what we want, to a better outcome. So,
Sure.
challenges and stress make us stronger. Like strength is forged in the struggle. So, do the hard things. So that's a mindset around
Yeah.
those. Those are two of the four things I teach, but let's just move on. Then, when we
Sure.
get into the behavior. So let's say we talk about the mindset and the person's about to go have the conversation. They're just like, I'm scared. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Then what I would say is, I know you're waiting until you feel confident and ready. And that's natural. But what we're looking for here is the way you gain confidence, the way you build bravery is not waiting until you feel brave. You have to take a step in the presence of fear, right? Even when you don't feel ready and confident, because like confidence and motivation and feeling like it is overrated. So don't wait until you feel like it or it feels
Mm,
comfortable, because the time will
sure.
never come. So you have to take the little step. You got to take that step, right? So having the conversation. with the
Wow.
person. Like walk
Yeah.
into the room, have a way to open it, and don't delay. Don't
Yeah.
even give yourself an option. Just say, when I get to work at 8 o'clock, I'm going to walk right into the office and I'm going to immediately going to have the conversation. So
Fair.
don't wait until, oh, I'll find the right timing. You've got to, and so in my, what I call it in the book and when I do keynotes for companies is I call it, I'm like, you've got to attack the day.
Yeah.
We have the greatest psychological resources in the morning. And then think of it as our battery to do hard things is at full capacity in the morning. And then over the
Okay.
day, it goes down and down and down. This
Fair.
is Roy Baumeister's research on, cognitive capacity throughout the day. And a lot of people, if it's the hard thing, they're going to go to work and wait until they feel like it, and they're going to keep putting it off, keep putting it off. And at the end of the day, they don't have the
Yeah.
hard conversation. So they'll say,
Sure. Do it tomorrow. Yeah.
so, so those are some techniques. If you waiting until you feel confident and ready is a misnomer. You just have
Fair.
to take the step. And when you
Yeah.
take the step and you have the conversation, hopefully it goes well. But whenever you do the hard thing, usually what happens is you get a sense of relief and a dopamine hit because you did the hard thing.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's important. In fact, when you look at the neuroscience of bravery, like you said, you keep doing little steps of things that you don't feel like doing, but they're important for you to do for your goals. The more you do it, the more your brain will change literally the neural networks and even do some remodeling to
Fair.
help you do hard things. It's like our
Fair.
muscles. Like if you keep stressing your muscle, it's going to make it stronger. Same thing in our brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Well,
the
I'll tell you.
last, can I give you the
Yeah.
third step?
Yeah,
So
absolutely,
that's
for sure.
so
So
step
we
one.
have warrior mindset, we have the brave actions, and then what's the third?
The last one is what I call a brave tribe or brave relationships. People. So whenever you're going to do a hard thing, you should have people that you can lean on to give you advice or feedback or support to encourage you. So if you're going to go have a conversation with a boss, then hopefully you've got a mentor or someone that you look up to at work that you can have a confidential relationship and say, I'm feeling a little bit nervous about this. Can
Sure.
you help me? So if you find people that have done the hard thing or have expertise or knowledge in doing the hard thing, in this case, it's having the difficult conversation, those people are going to help you prepare and they will encourage you,
Mm,
not allow you to tap out. So if I
fair.
went to someone and say, like, I'm really nervous about this, like I don't know how it's going, they're going to say, you need to have it. You need to have this conversation. It's the right thing to do. Hey, let's role play. How are you going to open it up? See, you've got it. You've got it. Now go
Fair.
in there and do it. So when you surround yourself with a brave tribe that will
Yeah.
encourage you, give you courage, that will help you with your chances of success.
Wow, that's great. Well, and I think is that where you then at Breakthrough Leadership Group, would you be that person if there was someone listening right now, Jill, that was like, I don't have anybody like that. I'm afraid to open up because I'm afraid they're what they're going to say. Is that something that you guys offer then to try to help along the way?
Yeah, so my company, Breakthrough Leadership Group, we offer leadership development courses, um, group coaching, et cetera, on pretty much anything. Of course, I'm focusing on bravery because it's my new research. So
Sure.
if anyone wants to reach out to my team to see if what we offer, most of what we do is more organizational interventions, like, going
Okay.
in and teaching, you know, um, a team how to be braver in all aspects. Like, how do we set braver goals that are
Sure.
not playing it safe? Because sometimes setting safe goals holds us back. How do we be braver in our communications? How are we braver in terms of like taking ownership for our career? So we come in with kind of our solutions, and then we find out what are the specific struggles people are having. Or when people go through the course, everyone identifies, one or two fears that are holding them back or actions they want to take that they're hesitating to do. And then
Sure.
we help them use the 3 steps to develop plans, to
Great.
be able to
Yep.
overcome.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mhm.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, as we start to land the plane, I think at the end of the day, the word that's really speaking to me the most is regret. Because, I love what you said, choose, brave and live fulfilled. which is kind of like one extreme being fulfilled, and then the other extreme is living in regret, and that's if you choose comfort. And I think that you probably lose people when you say choose comfort and live regret, because people, let's face it, our society absolutely loves comfort, loves everything coming quick and speedy, and it's crazy how quick you can get stuff nowadays. Everything seems to be about comfort, but yet we need to look at this from a different perspective. So, what would you say to people that do typically choose just comfort? How do you kind of give them at least a glimpse into some bravery?
Yeah, just I mean, you're speaking to the heart of why I wrote this book and why I'm doing this research is so many people think that they want to have the happiest life. They want to have the best life. So they want comfort and
Yeah,
they want ease and they don't want any challenges or any stress.
yeah,
And so here's what the research tells us from psychology that if you are seeking ease and comfort and always avoiding challenges and things that you fear, that is a fast track to an unfulfilled life,
mm,
a life of regret, and actually a life of depression and anxiety
wow,
if we're always avoiding. So when we look at the literature, we as human beings are born to strive physically and psychologically, right? So if, I mean, imagine if someone just wanted ease and comfort in their body all day, every day, and they just laid around, right? Then
yeah,
your body would become weaker. It would
sure,
become unwell. The same thing goes for our psychology,
mm,
right? So, you know, I mean, at the heart of my work is I want people to live their happiest life. I mean, I studied the science of happiness.
yeah,
Really, if you choose to be brave and take steps toward what you want in life, even though it's scary, then that is going to bring you the sense of pride,
mm,
of self-confidence because
sure,
you took those steps. And if I really want to get a little woo-woo, this is what leads to the highest levels of self-love. And and that's what I'm looking to do is people who are not brave don't think very highly about themselves
yeah,
and they blame others for a bad life. And you said something at the beginning, you talked about people taking control of their destiny. And that's essentially what bravery allows people to do. You can steer the ship of your life in any direction as long as you're brave. This is about being agentic. And
yeah.
it's not easy and it won't be comfortable. I promise you it won't be. But when
It's
you
a way to
do
sell a bunch of books on that one, Jill.
that, yeah, exactly. Like it's a great way. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
but
No, but
but it's
it's true. I totally get it. Totally
and
get it.
it's who you become on the journey. You are so much happier with yourself. You've made a bigger impact on the world, and that's what leads you to looking back at life with pride,
Yeah.
without regret.
Yeah. That's awesome. What would your tip of the day be to somebody listening? Maybe it's
Mm,
something we covered. Maybe it's something still on your heart. But last question for you today is what would your tip of the day be for somebody listening?
yeah. What comes to mind is the next time you feel a little bit nervous or you feel fear, instead of your initial reaction, which is to move away from it because it makes you uncomfortable, which is sometimes natural,
Yep.
instead, I want you to be curious because many times the thing that you fear is a signpost of something that you should move toward. So I really want you to ask yourself, okay, what is this fear telling me?
Mm,
Every once in a while, fear keeps you safe. Like, oh, like there's the edge of a cliff. I should probably
right.
move away from it. Or there's a
Right.
dark alley in a strange city. Like, that's
Yep.
good fear to listen to.
Sure.
But the fear of like, I have an idea that I want to share. I think it'd be really, oh, but I'm scared to share it.
Yeah.
Like these are the little micro moments in the workplace where you're like, okay, no, like I need to share that idea. Or God, I would love to be the supervisor. Oh,
Yeah.
and there's an opening, but oh, I'm scared, right? So that is my tip of the day. Many
Awesome.
times fear is a sign that you should move toward it. And
Wow.
don't wait. When you overcome that fear, you are going to feel the highest levels of just life satisfaction and pride and and that self-love that we're talking
Yeah.
about.
Well, I tell you, I wrote down be curious about your fear. I think that's a great concept to not run away from it because our brain's on our shoulders for one thing, and that's to protect us and keep us safe. So sometimes it doesn't know the difference, like you said, between taking that new job opportunity and that dark alley. Your brain thinks they're both bad because it hasn't experienced it before. So, um, for people that are listening that want to learn more about Breakthrough Leadership Group, want to connect with you, Jill, what's the best way for people to do that?
Well, I'm trying to be brave and get on all the different social media platforms. LinkedIn is the best place for all the
Sure.
professionals out there. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message if you listen to this. I'd love to hear from you. I also make a commitment to do posts 5 days a week to give you little reminders to live bravely each day. So I try to give those little reminders, but I'm also on Instagram, Facebook. So look for my handles. And also, I do have something free for your audience.
Awesome.
And this is something I just give out for free. So if you go to my
Sure.
website, which is jillschulman.com, JILLSCHULMAN.com, there's a free bravery assessment. And it just gives you an idea, like in those areas, the cognitive, the behavioral, the social psychology, like what areas are you strong? Which areas could use some work in? And then you get a free bravery blueprint where it asks you questions and gives you some strategies so you can start working on your bravery right away that can help you be more successful in your job
That's
and
awesome.
hopefully happier in life. Mhm.
Perfect. Dana will put those in the show notes, but it's jillschulman.com and then find the free Brave assessment. Oh my gosh. I got it. Now you're forcing me to do it. So
Yes,
uh,
good, good.
I'm gonna see what my results are, but I gotta be like in the right mindset to be just authentic with it and
Yep.
rather than where I want to be bravery
Yeah,
wise.
good
So
point. Yeah.
yep. So cool. Well, thank you, Jill, so much for hanging out with us today. I love this topic. I had no clue, as I told you on the onset, about how much science there is behind bravery. I just thought it was something that I carried with me and needed it whenever, like my driver's license or something like that. So I'm glad that I unpacked this with you. And for, again, people listening, rather than jump into your next topic, your next activity, just sit with what Jill said for a minute and see what lasting impact piece you can walk away with because we're inundated with information every day. So I just want this to
Mm.
sit with you. I want it to change your trajectory and keep us posted on how we can help. And thanks again, Jill, for hanging out. And I can't wait to see where my brave assessment shows up. I'll let you know my results.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.